My almost husband dumped me for the girl next door, but his dad secretly changed his will, giving me everything. My guy ditched me for our neighbor's kid, but his dad secretly altered his will since he was so upset with his son's actions. I, a 28-year-old woman, can't believe I'm typing this. I've been staring at my computer for ages, trying to understand what happened. I met James, a 30-year-old man, at a tech company 5 years ago. I had just moved to Boston for a job after college in Seattle. James worked on making new products, while I worked on advertising. We started as friends. James would chat with me at work during breaks, and we finally ate lunch together. 6 months later, he asked me on a date. I was unsure about dating someone at work, but he made it seem easy. We dated for 3 years before getting engaged. I became close to his parents, Tom, 58, and Sarah, 55, who treated me like their own kid. They had no other kids, and Sarah was happy to have me. Their lovely old house, passed down through their family, became the place for our Sunday dinners. During one of these dinners, James asked me to marry him with his grandma's ring, and Sarah gave me a family necklace as a welcome. The wedding plans went smoothly. James's parents wanted to pay, even though my family was already helping. Sarah helped with everything from dress shopping to decorations and became friends with my mom. Everything felt perfect. In the week before the wedding, James seemed excited, so we planned a trip to Europe, which his parents paid for. At the dinner before the wedding, James gave a sweet speech about our future. Sarah hugged me, happy to have me as her daughter-in-law. Tom seemed touched, even though he's usually quiet. On the wedding day, as I was getting ready, James's best friend came to see me, looking worried. He gave me a note from James saying he couldn't go through with it and needed time to think. I called James, but his phone was off. His closest friend said James had left very early that morning. The next few hours were a mess. My parents worked hard to cancel everything. James's parents were shocked. Sarah tried to call him, but Tom looked sad, like he already knew. I stayed in my wedding dress for a long time, so sad. The guests went home, and all the plans we had made were ruined. My parents lost a lot of money on things we couldn't get back. 2 days later, while I was still in bed, a friend sent me a photo from Instagram. James had posted a picture with Kelly, a 26-year-old girl who lived a few houses down from his parents. They looked happy together in what looked like her house. Kelly was always at family events because she lived so close to James's parents. The caption said, "Sometimes the best choice isn't the easy one." I never noticed she was often at our Sunday dinners with her parents. She was always nice, asking about the wedding and offering to help. Now I know why she wanted to know all the details. Friends told me James and Kelly had been seeing each other for months. They got close after she joined the tennis club where James played. They were practicing early in the morning before work. What hurts more than James leaving me is how his parents reacted. Instead of being mad at him, they were happy for him. Sarah called me a week after the wedding disaster, not to say sorry or see how I was, but to tell me I shouldn't be upset with James's choice. She said Kelly was a better fit for James because her family knew people in the tech world. Kelly's dad had a successful software company, and James was sure to get a big part of the business. One day, Sarah had the nerve to say that, well, they liked me. They needed to think about James's future and Kelly could give him better chances. She said that sometimes parents have to support their kids' choices, even if they seem mean to others. The mom who cried with joy when I got engaged and helped me plan every part of my wedding suddenly acted like I was just a way for her son to get rich. Then something unexpected happened. 2 weeks after the wedding, James's dad's lawyer called me. The lawyer said that Tom had changed his will 2 months before the wedding. He saw what James was doing and was disgusted by it. He gave me papers showing that Tom had left everything, the family business, houses, and money to me, not James. This was done in secret, without anyone knowing, not even Sarah. When I asked the lawyer why Tom would do this, he said that Tom had seen James's behavior change over the past year. He'd even hired someone to look into his worries. The lawyer gave me a letter Tom had written to explain everything. Tom had learned about James's habit of using people for his own gain and was ashamed of the person his son had become. The letter said he saw how honest and hardworking I was and thought I would take better care of the family's things than his own son. I haven't told anyone about the will yet, not even my parents. James and his mom still think he's going to get everything. I'm just trying to understand it all while watching them enjoy his new relationship with Kelly. like nothing happened. Sarah posts pictures of them together on social media, saying how happy she is that her son has found his true love. The hardest part is seeing my almost mother-in-law, who I thought loved me like a daughter, act like I never existed. The last 2 weeks have been a complete mess. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I found out about new lies and betrayals that made my head spin. Yesterday, I learned that James's parents took out a big loan on their old family home shortly after we got engaged. They did this because James promised to help them pay it back after he got his inheritance. Sarah was so sure about James's future with Kelly's family, but they not only took out a loan on the house, but also borrowed more money to fix it up and buy a vacation home. Sarah had been bragging to my mom about their plans during the wedding preparations, which is how I found out. My mom mentioned it while we were going through wedding gifts that needed to be returned. Curious about how they could afford such big changes, I asked around. One of Tom's coworkers told me about the loan, saying he had told Tom not to do it, but that's not the worst part. Emily, one of my bridesmaids who works at the wedding place, came to see me yesterday. She seemed nervous and said she had been keeping something from me. She told me that James's parents knew he was going to leave me at the altar for weeks. They didn't just know, they actually helped him plan it all. Emily heard Sarah talking about it with the event planner 3 weeks before the wedding. Sarah asked about their cancellation rules and if they could get some money back if the wedding was called off at the last minute. The planner thought it was strange and told Emily, but they thought it was just a worried mom being careful. Sarah and James had been planning this for over a month. They kept telling me to spend more money on things that they knew I would lose. Sarah even told me to get nicer flowers 2 days before the wedding, knowing her son wouldn't be there. She helped me pick out more decorations and even suggested I get a fancier wedding dress, all while knowing their plan. The more I think about it, the worse I feel. They sat with me at family meals, helped with wedding plans, and acted like they were excited about our future, all while planning to embarrass me in front of everyone I know. I met with Tom's lawyer again yesterday, and he told me even more shocking things about James. This wasn't the first time he had done something like this. The lawyer showed me papers about James's past engagements to 2 other women. Both times, James left them for someone he thought would help him more. The first was Rachel, his college sweetheart. They were engaged in their last year of college until James met a rich tech person's daughter at a job fair. He broke up with Rachel by email and started dating the rich daughter a week later. That ended when he found out she wasn't as close to her dad as he thought. The second was Amanda, who worked at his first job. They were engaged for 6 months until James found out her family's business was in trouble. He left her for a woman whose dad was on the board of a big company. That also failed when the woman's dad didn't like James. Tom had been collecting this information for months. He hired someone to find out about James's habit of using women for money and status. This is why Tom changed his will. The lawyer showed me pictures, emails, and texts proving James had been planning to leave me since he met Kelly at the tennis club. But today, the biggest surprise happened. Kelly came to my apartment crying. She found messages on James's phone while he was in the shower. The messages showed that James was already trying to date Emily, her rich cousin who's going to inherit her family's big tech company. Emily comes to visit from California every summer, and James had planned to meet her on her next visit. Kelly was heartbroken. She showed me all the texts, including talks between James and Sarah that said mean things about Kelly and me. They called us just steps on James's way to success. Sarah even gave James tips on how to win Emily's trust, like using his friendship with Kelly. The messages also showed that Sarah had told James to join the tennis club where Kelly played. Knowing they'd meet there, she had planned everything, from getting them to be friends to setting up early morning practices where they could meet without me knowing. Since Kelly left James, Sarah has been calling me nonstop. She probably wants to convince me to take James back now that his plan with Kelly didn't work. Every time she calls, I let it go to voicemail. Her texts have gone from mean to begging me to talk to her. They don't know about the will, and I don't know all they did to ruin my wedding. The lawyer said to keep the money secret for now. There's still legal stuff to do, and he thinks it's best if James and Sarah don't find out until it's done. He's worried they'll fight it if they learn too soon. Kelly and I talked for hours today. She said sorry a lot for what she did, saying she didn't know about James's past or his plans with her cousin. She thought he really liked her and left me because of that. Finding those messages showed her she was just a tool in his plan. I'm still trying to understand all this. Every day, I find out something new about the people I trusted. The lawyer said we should have all the will papers ready in a few weeks. Until then, I'm just trying to stay calm and not tell anyone what I know about James and his mom. This week, everything blew up. James's parents found out about the money thing at the bank. They were trying to get another loan, using their business as backup for house upgrades. The bank told them they didn't own the company anymore. Sarah seemed to break down at the bank. She came to my job yelling. She got past security by saying she was my future mother-in-law and made a scene. She yelled at me for tricking Tom and taking their family money. My coworkers had to get security to take her away, but not before she told everyone James left me at the altar. I'd been telling people at work the wedding was just delayed. After Sarah's outburst, James started calling and texting nonstop. His messages went from saying sorry to blaming me for ruining his family. He said he made a big mistake leaving me and still loved me. He said Kelly meant nothing and he only left because he was scared of settling down. This change happened after Kelly moved out and he couldn't get a date with her cousin, Emily. Kelly told me Emily laughed when James asked her out. She knew everything from Kelly and told their whole family about him. James can't get to the family business he wanted so much. Tom finally spoke up this week. He had a family meeting at his house, inviting Kelly's parents, who were old family friends. Tom told everyone everything, including what the detective found. James's history with other women he was engaged to, and Sarah's part in letting him act this way. He explained why he changed his will, showing everyone the proof he had about James and Sarah's plan. Sarah cried when Tom told her their house would be taken away soon. They had taken out lots of loans, counting on James's money to pay them back. Now they're in debt and can't pay. James tried to explain, saying his mom made him find a rich woman. Tom showed printed copies of James's text to Sarah, where he bragged about using Kelly and me. The text talked about how he planned to use Kelly's family to meet Emily, and how much money he thought he could get from each of us. The worst thing was that Sarah had made detailed charts comparing how much money James could get from being with me. Kelly or Emily. She had written down everything, including our family's money and who we knew in business. Kelly's dad was really upset when he found out, especially since Sarah was one of his wife's close friends. James's parents have been asking me to forgive them since the banks started taking their house. Sarah sends long emails saying she was just trying to be a good mom and got carried away wanting the best for her son. She promised to apologize publicly and even offered to tell my parents everything. James tried a different approach. He came to my place last night with his grandma's ring, which I'd given back after the wedding mess. He asked us to get back together and fix things. He suggested we run the family business together and help his parents keep their house. He seemed to have forgotten he'd embarrassed me and planned everything with his mom. I didn't let him in. I talked him through the door and told him to leave before I called the police. He got angry, saying I was mean and heartless, and that I was tearing his family apart over one mistake, a mistake he and his mom planned for months. It cost my family a lot of money in wedding costs and embarrassed me in front of everyone I knew. Tom called me after, saying sorry James had come over. He said he's working with his lawyer to get a restraining order against James and Sarah to keep me safe. Kelly's dad is also helping, using his contacts to make sure James can't get another job in tech around here. It's a small comfort, but it's good to know there are still good people in this mess. After months of legal stuff, the inheritance is finally settled. I used some of it to start a new part of the family business, focusing on eco-friendly tech, which Tom always wanted to do, but Sarah and James didn't. Tom's been a great teacher, showing me everything about the business and introducing me to his contacts. James tried to fight the will in court, saying I tricked his dad when he wasn't thinking straight. That didn't work. All his past actions were used as proof. The detective Tom hired talked about James's pattern with his ex-girlfriends, and Rachel and Amanda came forward to tell their stories. The judge said no to James's claim and made him pay all the court costs. James's parents had to leave their family home last month. They now live in a small apartment outside of town. Sarah still tries to contact me sometimes, usually after she's had too much to drink. Her messages go from asking for forgiveness to blaming me for ruining their lives. I've blocked her number, but she keeps using new emails. James hit rock bottom when Kelly's dad told everyone in the tech world what he'd done. He had to take a low-level job at a small company outside of town. Last I heard, he was still living with a roommate and driving for rideshare on weekends to make ends meet. He tried to apologize to Kelly's family, hoping to get back in their good graces, but they wouldn't talk to him. The karma didn't stop there. Emily, Kelly's cousin, whom James tried to date, is now engaged to Kelly's brother, Mark. They run the tech company James wanted so much, and it's doing better than ever. Kelly's become a good friend. We get coffee together and sometimes laugh about how we both avoided James's tricks. Tom's been my biggest supporter. He says seeing me succeed with the company has helped him deal with his disappointment in James. We've grown the business by 40% in just 6 months, and our new ecotech part is getting attention from big investors. Tom recently told me changing his will was the best thing he's ever done. I've used some of the money to start a foundation that helps people who've lost money because of broken engagements. We pay back wedding costs and give legal help when needed. Rachel and Amanda now work with the foundation, sharing their stories to help others see the red flags we missed with James after James's failed court case. The judge ordered him to stay away from the family business and the foundation forever. He tried to say it wasn't fair, but with all the proof of his past actions, the judge didn't care. My life is better now than it would have been if I'd married James. I'm dating again, but I'm taking it slow. My parents are proud of how I've handled everything. And seeing the company do well has helped them get over their anger about the wedding disaster. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if James had been honest from the start. But then I remember what Tom told me. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us are actually blessings. He was right. Losing James helped me find my own strength, build a great career, and make something good for others. That's worth more than any wedding could have been.